The Truce of Biak-na-bato and Malolos Republic. What is Biak-na-bato Republic? Republic of Biak-na-bato is a designation referring to the Second Revolutionary Republican government established on November 1, 1897, led by Emilio Aguinaldo during the Philippine Revolution. This government referred to itself as Republic of the Philippines. At his headquarters in Talisay, Batangas, Emilio Aguinaldo was encircled by Spanish forces. Aguinaldo slipped through the Spanish cordon with 500 picked men and proceeded to Biak-na-bato. When news of Aguinaldo's arrival there reached the towns of Central Luzon, men from the Ilocos provinces, Nueva Ecija, Pangasinan, Tarlac, and Zambales renewed their armed resistance against the Spanish. The Constitution of the Republic of Biak-na-bato was written by Felix Ferrer and Isabelio Artacio, who copied the Cuban Constitution of Jimiguayo nearly word for word. It provided for the creation of a Supreme Council, which was created on November 1, 1897, with the following officers elected: President Emilio Aguinaldo, Vice President Mariano Trias, Secretary of Foreign Affairs Antonio Montenegro, Secretary of War Emiliano Riego de Dios, Secretary of the Interior Isabelio Artacio, and Secretary of the Treasury Baldomero Aguinaldo. The Biak-na-bato Republic lasted just over a month. It was disestablished by a peace treaty signed by Aguinaldo and the Spanish Governor-General Fernando Primo de Rivera, which included provisions for exile of Aguinaldo and key associates to Hong Kong. The Truce of Biak-na-bato. By the end of 1897, Governor-General Primo de Rivera accepted the impossibility of quelling the revolution by force of arms. Desiring to make peace with Aguinaldo, he sent emissaries to seek a peaceful settlement. Ironically, nothing was accomplished until Pedro A. Paterno, a known turncoat and a lawyer from Manila, volunteered to act as negotiator. On August 9, 1897, Paterno proposed a peace based on reforms and amnesty to Aguinaldo. In succeeding months, practicing shuttle diplomacy, Paterno traveled back and forth between Manila and Biak-na-bato, carrying proposals and counter-proposals. Paterno's efforts lead to a peace agreement called the Pact of Biak-na-bato. This consisted of 3 documents, the first 2 being signed on December 14, 1897, and the third being signed on December 15, effectively ending the Republic of Biak-na-bato. The Pact of Biak-na-bato, signed on December 15, 1897, a truce between Spanish colonial Governor-General Fernando Primo de Rivera and the revolutionary leader Emilio Aguinaldo to end the Philippine Revolution. Aguinaldo and his fellow revolutionaries were given amnesty and monetary indemnity by the Spanish government, in return for which the revolutionary government would go into exile in Hong Kong. Aguinaldo had decided to use the money to purchase advanced firearms and ammunition later on return to the archipelago. According to historian Teodoro Agoncillo, the pact was made up of 3 documents which together came to be known as the Truce of Biak-na-bato, and which provided, among other things, first, that Aguinaldo and his companions would go into voluntary exile abroad, which is in Hong Kong, that Governor-General Primo de Rivera would pay the sum of 800,000 Mexican dollars to the rebels in 3 installments. Cost 2,016,952 pesos. The first installment is the 400,000 Mexican dollars to Aguinaldo upon his departure from Biak-na-bato. Costs 1,008,476 pesos. The second installment is the 200,000 Mexican dollars when the arms surrendered by the revolutionists amounted to 800 stand. Costs 504,238 pesos. The third installment is the remaining 200,000 Mexican dollars when the arms surrendered amounted to 1,000 stand. Te Deum in the cathedral in Manila as thanksgiving for the restoration of peace. The third document, that Primo de Rivera would pay the additional sum of 900,000 Mexican dollars to the families of the non-combatant Filipinos who suffered during the armed conflict, cost 2,269,071 pesos. In accordance with the first part of the pact, Aguinaldo and 25 other top officials of the revolution were banished to Hong Kong, with 400,000 Mexican dollars in their possession. The rest of the men received 200,000 Mexican dollars, but the third installment was never received. General amnesty was never declared and sporadic conflict continued. Later in May, Aguinaldo returned to the Philippines, established a dictatorial government on May 24, 1898, and on June 12, 1898, at Aguinaldo's ancestral home in Cavite, issued the Philippine Declaration of Independence from Spain. The Malolos Republic. First Philippine Republic, also referred to by historians as the Malolos Republic, was established through the promulgation of the Malolos Constitution on January 22, 1899 in Malolos, Bulacan, during the Philippine Revolution and the Spanish-American War, succeeding the revolutionary government of the Philippines. It was formally established by Emilio Aguinaldo as president. The First Philippine Republic is sometimes characterized as the first proper constitutional republic in Asia. Aguinaldo himself had led a number of governments prior to Malolos, like those established at Tejeros and Biak-na-bato, which both styled themselves República de Filipinas. The important officials of the Malolos Republic is as follows: President Emilio Aguinaldo, Vice President Mariano Trias, and Prime Minister Apolinario Mabini or Pedro Paterno. When the First Philippine Republic was constituted on January 22, 1899 in Malolos, that municipality became the seat of government of the Philippine Republic and was serving as much when hostilities erupted between U.S. and Filipino forces in the Second Battle of Manila on February 4. Aguinaldo made the Malolos Cathedral his presidential palace, which is less than a kilometer away from Baraswain. The cathedral was later burned to the ground upon the president's orders to General Antonio Luna when they escaped deeper in Luzon, so the Americans wouldn't be able to use it. On March 31, American forces captured Malolos, the initial seat of the Philippine Republic government, which has been gutted by fires set by withdrawing Philippine Republic forces. Emilio Aguinaldo and the core of the revolutionary government had by then moved to San Isidro, Nueva Ecija. Peace negotiations with the American Scorman Commission during a brief ceasefire in April to May 1899 failed. San Isidro fell to American forces on May 16. The Philippine Republic core government had moved by then to Bamban, Tarlac, and subsequently moved to Tarlac town. Aguinaldo's party had already left Tarlac, the last capital of the Philippine Republic, by the time American troops occupied it on November 13. On November 13, in a conference in Bayambang, Pangasinan, Aguinaldo decided to disperse his army and begin guerrilla war. Aguinaldo remained in Palanan until his capture there by American forces with the aid of the native scouts on March 23, 1901. Following his capture, Aguinaldo announced alliance to the United States on April 1, 1901, formally ending the First Republic and recognizing the sovereignty of the United States over the Philippines. It was a short-lived government for a country about less than 3 years. After declaring war against the United States, Aguinaldo was eventually captured by the American troops in Palanan, Isabela. After under Spain, the country once again became colonial under America. Emilio Aguinaldo signed an oath of alliance to the United States 9 days after his capture, in return for his release from incarceration. The pledge took place at the Malacañang Palace in Manila. the office of the military governor, U.S. Army General Arthur MacArthur Jr. was granted a pension from the U.S. government and retired to private life. To sum it up, Cavite El Viejo, the hometown of General Aguinaldo, where the Declaration of Independence was proclaimed on June 12, 1898. In Bacoor, Cavite, the Declaration of Independence was first ratified in Cuenca House by 190 municipal presidents of different towns from 16 provinces. In Malolos, Bulacan, in September 1898, General Emilio Aguinaldo made the Parroquia de la Inmaculada Concepcion, an Augustinian bell-town church of Malolos, the executive palace, while the nearby Barasuain Church served as the legislative house where the Malolos Constitution was written. When the Americans captured Malolos, Aguinaldo ordered General Antonio Luna to burn the Malolos Church, including its huge silver altar. In Angeles, Pampanga, on March 17, 1899, General Emilio Aguinaldo transferred the seat of the First Philippine Republic to Angeles. It then became the site of celebration for the first anniversary of Philippine independence. In San Isidro, Nueva Ecija, on March 29, 1899, General Emilio Aguinaldo arrived in Nueva Ecija and the town was made temporary capital of the First Philippine Republic. He stayed in his house, which served as his executive office. When the Americans occupied San Isidro, the Sidico House served as the headquarters of Colonel Frederick Funston, who would later capture General Aguinaldo in Palanan, Isabela. General Aguinaldo's capture is said to have been planned in his house. In Tarlac, the Casa Real de Tarlac served as headquarters of the revolutionary capital after Nueva Ecija was captured by the Americans in 1899. In Pangasinan, in November 1899, Emilio Aguinaldo designated Bayambang as seat of government after Tarlac was captured by the Americans. In Kalinga, Emilio Aguinaldo made Lubuagan the seat of government for 73 days, from 6 March 1900s to 18th of May 1900s, before his escape and eventual capture at Palanan, Isabela. In Palanan, Isabela, on March 23, 1901, General Aguinaldo was captured by American forces with the aid of the native scouts and eventually detained in a villa near Malacañang Palace. That's all. Thank you.